want to reinvent something. We didn't want to have something that we had to start from scratch and maintain on our own. And because ACT and NCRC and work keys are so well known, it's something that's easily recognizable and people know what it does. And so we picked it. It's the only one that we're going to use to measure that particular piece of the competency. And we want to implement it nationwide. It's already implemented in several states, like in Georgia. They use it now, Georgia Work Ready, and they use the job profiling and the information to help them to screen candidates before they become employed. But we feel like it's just critical. When CEWD was first formed, and that was in 2006, we came together because we are facing a crisis in the industry with workforce. Our employees are older than the national average, so we know that we have a lot of our workers that are going to be eligible to retire, or they might move on to other jobs. And the industry itself came together, utilities did, and began to look at the issue and what some of the practices were that we could put in place to help stave off some of that. So, so when we came together, we started looking at what are the critical jobs, who's most likely to retire, how many might retire over time, and we began focusing then on what to do to replace those workers. The jobs that we focus on are critical to the industry because they are the technicians, they're the engineers, they're the people who keep the lights on and keep the natural gas flowing. So they're the ones that we have to focus on. We need lots of people in different jobs. We need people in customer service, and of course IT is so critical, other jobs. But the technicians and the engineers, those are the ones that are unique to our industry. So we knew we had to focus on those. All of that boils down to balancing supply and demand, so that we have the right number of people coming out of the supply, education, at exactly the time that we need them. That's demand. So that's one of the big drivers in terms of what we do, balancing that supply and demand. The second thing that has changed for us is the skill level of entry-level employees. There was a time where you could put up the help wanted sign and you could select from the best of the best. They came in the door. What we're finding is that since we haven't been hiring as much over the last few years, the students that come in, first of all, if they come to us, then that's terrific because they're the ones who actually know who we are. So we work a lot on that. But when they come to us, they can't pass the pre-employment tests. And we lose them at unbelievable rates because they can't do basic math. There's some fundamental skills that are missing. And that's what happened to us in the last 30 years, is we had students before who would come in and appreciate the job and would have the skills that they needed to enter an apprenticeship or to enter into training in the industry. And they would stick with us for 30, 40, 50 years, for an entire career. Now what we're finding is that students don't have that. So we have to close that skill gap. And that's the second big driver in terms of what we do. And then the third big change is technology. Everybody knows the buzzwords these days, like smart grid and other things. We've always been impacted by technology, but the speed is incredible. But when you're talking about training, you can't create an associate degree program that will teach somebody everything they need to know about technology. They come out in 2 years, that technology is old. What we have to do is to create education that teaches people the basics, the foundations, what they need to know about the industry, all of the technical skills that they need, but also have the ability to learn so that as the technology changes, our workforce can change with it. So that's what's great about the NCRC, is we all use the same credential. If you're looking at construction, manufacturing, energy, we're all using the same one to measure those foundational skills. So a student who comes through the Get Into Energy Career Pathways model might decide at some point, I'd rather go to work in construction than for a utility. They've got the credentials they need then to take that ramp over to construction or over to manufacturing and still not have to start from scratch. So that's the whole idea about integrating this not only within our industry from foundational all the way through the job-specific and advanced skills, but across industries. And if we can agree as different industries in what we want that to be, then what that does is allow students to have many pathways. And it also means that as conditions change, as the industry change, you don't have to start from scratch. You can build on that and move ahead. I think what's different about the utility industry than other industries, and maybe one of the reasons why we have come together so quickly, is that we're used to working together. When there's a storm, everybody pitches in. You know, the workers get on trucks and they go to wherever the problem is, and we deal with all the other stuff later. So we are very used to working together. We're competitive, but we help each other. So when it came time to look at this issue, this workforce issue, we all came together. Because it really doesn't matter whether you're a huge utility like Southern Company or American Electric Power, or you're a very small co-op. The issues with the replacing the workforce are exactly the same. So we realized that we could build a bigger talent pool. We say we want to have a bigger talent pool because right now we're fishing from a talent puddle. And what that means is we compete against each other then if we're competing for the same employee. We want a bigger talent pool. It's better for the economy. It's great for economic development. It's great for community development. And it's terrific for the students in the schools because these are great jobs. They pay well. They're not going to be outsourced. These are jobs that are going to be around. And so we want to be able to work together to make that happen.